Like the humble sheep, I graze on the fields of comic book history, and Frank Miller undoubtedly has been my shepherd. And since I'm so grateful my last Daredevil video garnered such a great response, I thought I would keep the train going and start the run that made Miller the icon he is today. But I gotta say, I'm a little nervous here because for the first time, I'm reading a comic that in itself is not contained. So can I really get engrossed with zero context on Daredevil's first 157 issues? Well, hold your horses, because this collection I'm reading actually starts with 2 issues of the Spectacular Spider-Man. And the reason we start here is because these 2 entries are Miller's first work on Daredevil as a guest penciler, but the fact that these 2 entries are in the middle of this whole arc makes this kind of awkward. And they do seem to do a decent job of explaining the context, but like Spider-Man is blind at the moment he's hunted by police, and it's just a lot to throw at someone. Still though, it does feel good to see my good friend Spidey again, and in this story Daredevil has to basically help him while he's temporarily blinded to defeat this guy called the Marauder. And Spider-Man, true to his comic book form in my experience, is throwing a straight up tantrum, which is just so funny because he's so upset at being blind, and Daredevil has to just confront him like a parent to a toddler. My initial reaction to this actually doesn't have anything to do with Daredevil. It's just nice to see some of these Spider-Man characters after almost a decade of issues like Betty Brant and Flash Thompson. Our main quest, however, is getting Peter's eyesight back, and he goes to the doctor and makes this cute little web mask. But very early in, honestly, I'm kind of losing the plot. Like, this just feels completely different than any of Miller's other work that I've read. Like, we're back to forgettable villains, but I guess the art is kind of cute. Basically, I just want to say preemptively that the first part of this video is going to sound pretty negative, and that's because I realize there's a very stark contrast in quality in the issues that Miller just penciled, co-wrote, versus solely writing and drawing. And this first chunk is where Miller doesn't have as much creative freedom, and it really shows, but I promise I'll have a lot more good stuff to say later on. I suppose you have some earth-shattering reason to contact the mayor in the midst of extremely sensitive union negotiations. Surprise, surprise, they win and Spider-Man gets his vision back. This did not really do it for me, but I guess you could say it's a cute story about learning to live with disabilities. And this is more of an issue with the people who put together this volume, but the next issue also irks me because not only is Daredevil barely in it, but it's just a whole new story in the middle of some other arc. Like, it's just very disjointed. Here's Black Widow, here's an already established villain. It's just kind of like Whiplash. On the plus side, there is a really cute blurb hyping up Frank Miller as this hotshot up-and-comer, and it's really cool to see how prophetic that was. But make no mistake, this is still Miller Lite. By Lenin's bread. I actually had a whole section about the plot of this issue, but honestly, I don't even think it's worth talking about. Only thing I'll say is this dude is a generational hater for literally digging Matt's grave. Honestly, by now, even Miller's art is kind of cheeks for me. At this point, we are 75 pages in, and it's rinse and repeat. Someone tries to kill Daredevil and he puts a stop to it. We do, however, get a killer fight and a big reveal that the man who hired the bounty hunter from earlier is Bullseye.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
And yeah, I've never heard of this guy, but something about him just looks off. So our guy kidnaps Black Widow to lure Daredevil out, and I don't know, man, Black Widow is such a nothing burger in this story. I do though really like Bullseye's power of turning anything into a weapon with his precision aim, and it makes his fights really creative. Like, he uses a flower vase, a hairdryer, wind chimes, all just in this first sequence. And I finally get some actual context around a villain instead of being plopped in the middle of an arc. And you say your father beat you? Yes. What happened next? I killed him! So now with this next issue, Miller finally starts to co-write these with Klaus Johnson. I really like that much of this issue takes place in Coney Island, since so many of these stories make it seem like these characters could be in fucking Cincinnati. And like, I can see the potential. There's this really cool part where Matt apparently leaves Black Widow to die, but 4D Chess knows that Bullseye used a decoy since he can sense heartbeats, and that's really cool. I like how genuinely scared Bullseye is of Daredevil, and overall, I'd say that was definitely more solid of a time. And now we have a Hulk story. And while Miller is back to pencils only on this one, Roger McKenzie does a great job, and I would definitely say this is the best of the non-Miller written issues. Matt really shines here because he gets to show off this compassionate side, and Hulk also is so charming and sympathetic. I'm definitely going to read more of him. If you know of any good Hulk material to start with, please let me know. Honestly, I'm just shocked how much Hulk and Banner elicit emotion, since like in the movies, I have never paid Hulk more than 2 cents. Like, I love that morning traffic is enough to get him angry to transform. Like, same dude, I feel you. The art too here, I feel like has a little bit more of a retro charm, and ultimately I like that this story has a conflict that for the first time can't be resolved with violence. We get some more of those panels from Daredevil's perspective, which you know I love from before. All in all, this is the standout so far. The next issue, however, can't really maintain the momentum, and I have nothing to say about it. It's a retelling of his origin essentially, and the only notable thing is it does start this really cool trend of this visual heartbeat so you can see exactly what Daredevil sees, and it's just pretty cool stuff. But other than that, nothing else to say. Next up, we have Doc Ock, and Miller's back to co-artist and co-writer, but this issue is such a stinker. He's trying to steal some adamantium, and that's like all I have to say. This is filler and can be skipped, but at least there's some solid art. The follow-up unfortunately doesn't improve, and I would say is my least favorite issue in this entire volume. The only highlight from this is Foggy getting married in this horrendous suit, and then his brother, who's the best man, comes in this equally ghoulish attire. But Gladiator, the issue's main villain, and the conflict is so boring and inconsequential. It may not seem like it because I'm kind of glancing over the stuff that was very boring, but we're 200 pages into the story, and I would say I only really liked one issue, and I even wrote down in my script like, I hope it gets better than this. And it does, okay? But it's not in this next story, I will tell you that. What can I even say at this point? Like, I think the art is nice enough, but it's his writing that is so sorely missed. And things like these monologues, I can instantly tell it's not Miller. Although it is really cute when Matt stumbles into a woman changing because he needs to go somewhere to put on a suit, and he's like, don't worry, I won't look, you know? Because he's blind. These issues are just exhausting. Like, I do definitely want to continue Miller's run, but I think I need a quick Daredevil break. So if there's another hero you want to see me do, or another story of one that I already did, please let me know. As you can see in all my videos, I'm always looking for Rex. Anyways, this next villain is the Mauler. So get this, he wants to take revenge on his former boss since he lost his job due to automation, but in that process his boss commits fraud by deleting his records out of the company's pension system. So in his plan to take revenge, this is devilish by the way, he steals the company's armor and holds the boss hostage, and you're never gonna believe this, takes out his wallet and incinerates him to show him some of his own medicine, and then he fucking dies. Like, what is this shit, man? But now, 2/3 of the way through the story, Miller is finally the sole writer and artist, and we have the return of our favorite baddie, Elektra. You really need to believe me when I tell you the sudden uptick in quality. Like, for example, this is the last piece of dialogue in the previous issue. Yes, Mr. Cord, I understand the law and the need for national security, and I respect them both. Most of the time. And now the issue opener in this one. Close your eyes, let the night touch you. Feel the cold driving rain as it batters your face and soaks your clothes. Hear the moan of a freight barge to the nearby East River, the haunting chimes of a solitary church bell as it tolls the midnight hour. This is how you establish atmosphere. Also, if I had a nickel for the amount of times Daredevil kicks a German Shepherd in a Frank Miller story, I'd have 2 nickels, which doesn't sound like a lot, but kind of weird that it happened twice. So Matt is trying to investigate this guy Slaughter is his name by the way, to help someone falsely accused of murder when Elektra comes in to get the same guy, but in order to collect a bounty, knocking Daredevil out in the process. And while Daredevil is unconscious, we get a flashback to when he meets Elektra, and compared to the other origin retelling, this one is honestly so much better. He's just so smitten, it's like adorable. He straight up tells her all of his powers right away, just so she'll go on a date with him. I really like that you can read Man Without Fear and this and kind of get a nice full story. The only place they directly conflict is why Elektra gets sent away, with it here being due to her father's murder, which honestly makes way more sense and it's awesome. Back to the present, Matt realizes he needs to hunt Elektra down and grapples with the pain that it's causing, and I really like that in this issue it understands that if you write a hero without fear, you need to introduce some sort of internal conflict, and it's honestly beautifully executed. And I think while Miller's art has been a little hit or miss, here it's very, very good, and I appreciate that he draws these where if you don't want to read all the narration, you won't miss out on anything crucial, but if you do, you get rewarded with that beautiful atmosphere I talked about. Adding on top of that, the action is firing on all cylinders, and this romance has got me hooked. So what does Frankie have in store for us next,
What's wrong with your face?
I know I made fun of Bullseye before, but I gotta say he's kind of growing on me, and now that Miller is writing, I'm really ready to give him a second chance. We open up to see Bullseye in a complete psychosis, hallucinating everyone to be Daredevil. And he's just going crazy, yelling, calling people devil due to this tumor in his brain, and his episodes give him so much unpredictability. Side note, I love how Miller draws a film being shown in universe. It kind of gives like Smiling Friends. You know, there's just more sauce here. Like during their fight, there are these two guys who are hard of hearing and just loudly critiquing the movie while it goes on. And when Daredevil needs to track Bullseye down, he focuses on hearing a single cough in all of New York City. And like that's a crazy thing to present to the audience, but it's done in such a cool way that it comes across as amazing. In accordance to his golden rule, Daredevil makes the hard choice to save Bullseye's life, and it's honestly very genuine. Damn, that issue was a banger. Now let's see what... Ooh, okay, I see you. Now, unlike Man Without Fear, our boy is retired, living life in Japan. But to stay out of the game, his wife convinces him to inform on the other members of the mob to the US government, meaning he'll need a good lawyer, and who better than our resident esquire, Matt Murdock. So his wife goes to New York to meet up with Matt, but since the mob has caught on, they break in and kidnap her. Matt changes and goes into pursuit where basically this goon in question dies due to his hand being a flamethrower. And honestly, I don't have an issue with this. It's almost less realistic to assume that slip-ups like this never happen, and it just adds some more spice to an otherwise vanilla sequence. Speaking of vanilla, the mob could use a little bit of power boost themselves, so they pick up our good maniac Bullseye out of jail and they join forces. And fuck it, I'm down. This guy has totally won me over at this point. I'm convinced Frank Miller can just make anything work.
Until someone fingers Lewis the string.
Okay, maybe not anything. So to get his wife back, the issue ends with Kingpin finally coming back to New York, and I am so freaking ready for this. I think having Kingpin as this pseudo-protagonist makes this story multitudes more entertaining. And there's no nerf when the villain joins as a party member. His plan to save his wife is basically to use this high-pitched sound to disorient everyone in the trap they made for him while he wears earplugs. But someone apparently has just enough composure to get one shot off and kills Vanessa. This is so sad because we as the reader know Kingpin will go back to being a villain and will have to root against him, but it made me really hope that he does get redeemed at some point. So Kingpin comes out of retirement and vows revenge, and this is just a villain origin story done right in every way. Our last issue of the volume details his tour to the top, and it is the highlight of this whole story. At one point he barges into the mob's HQ and does this hostile takeover and even convinces Bullseye to join up with him, and it just feels like there are actual stakes now. And so when the twist comes in that it was one of Kingpin's own guys who killed his wife, so basically he would come out of retirement, it actually hits. And he does the Into the Spider-Verse thing, which I really like. There's just a lot of payoff in this, like Daredevil and Bullseye finally go head to head and Matt needs to grapple with the fact that he could have killed him and avoided so much bloodshed. And when Daredevil beats Bullseye finally, there's this awesome moment where Kingpin gives Daredevil all of the informant files from earlier and Bullseye because he wants to cleanse his org of all those old members, and it's just such a great way to have the villain basically win without it feeling cheap, and Daredevil has basically no choice but to take the deal. Oh yeah, and his wife might be alive, I don't know. What an amazing last few issues, but I really don't want to make it seem like I enjoyed this volume more than I actually did. The quality graph looks like this. It's a strong correlation with the more Frank Miller, the more I enjoyed, but he only does 5 full issues in a 16-issue volume. And it's not hard to think back to Batman The Long Halloween, which was 13 issues, and it was part of a single story to be fair, but That took me like a day, maybe 2 days to read, whereas this one I feel like I needed a whole week because I just got so tired. Next time, I think I'm gonna go back to Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's original Spider-Man, which I've been really looking forward to continuing, all thanks to some great discussion I've had in the comments. So if you don't want to miss that, hop on board and subscribe. Unfortunately, I have to give Frank Miller and Klaus Johnson's Daredevil Volume 1 a 5 out of 10. I think if I'm talking just those last 5 issues, it would be an 8 or even a 9, but I really don't like how they organized this collection, but those last 5 gave me hope, and I am truly still excited to go through Miller's run, hopefully with him getting more creative power. In any case, have a good one. Peace.